What is up, everybody? This is your guy Cly, and welcome back to Budget Buys. And today, I'm going to be talking about mechanical keyboard keycaps. Specifically, these sets of mechanical keyboard keycaps that I found at my local Five Below of all places. Now, admittedly, if I were just buying these for myself, I probably would have only come home with the FlyTech Keycaps. I'm not really that big on DC Comics, and no, I'm not a Marvel purist. I just find myself reading more from publishers like Dynamite, IDW, and Image. As for Harry Potter, that's a fandom that I never really got into, and that's not going to be changing anytime soon. However, the FlyTech have a bit of a vaporwave look to them, and I'm kind of obsessed with that aesthetic right now. However, since I'm making this video, I decided it was a good idea to show you everything that my local Five Below had on offer, in order to give an objective overview. Now, before I go any further, some of you are probably wondering why the heck these are only partial keycap sets as opposed to one for your entire keyboard. And you might be surprised to hear that setups like this are actually pretty common. Yes, there are keycap sets that are meant to cover your entire keyboard in a specific theme, but when you're going a little bit more ornate in the designs, partial sets are usually the go-to. Also, I should probably point out that the price tag here, that being $5, is definitely an outlier. Even when you're looking at partial sets like this, especially licensed ones, you're looking at easily over $15 to $20. You might get lucky and find some in the $10 range, but $5 is right out. Also, one very interesting difference between these keycaps is the fact that these actually cover different layouts, which I'll show you shortly. Now, as for the specifics about these keycaps, what we have here are dye sublimation printed PBT keycaps with a cherry compatible stem. And for those of you wondering what the heck I just said, PBT stands for polybutylene terephthalate, and don't let that name scare you. It's just a type of polyester, and it is considered food safe, so there's no real danger here. As for the printing, dye sublimation is a method where you print out a design using a fancy inkjet printer and specialized dye-based ink. Place the print on top of your product, preferably one made out of artificial materials like polyester, very popular in clothing, and then apply heat. This converts the special ink from a solid to a gas, and that will soak into your substrate. And you're left with a permanent design on your keycap. Well, semi-permanent. You can still technically scratch this off, but you're going to have to dig pretty deep. If we take a look at this Wonder Woman keycap, you can see that the red does leach in a fraction of a millimeter. So you're going to have to get that deep into the keycap in order to get past the design. It's a very durable finish. As for the Keycap Profile on offer here, these are what are referred to as OEM profile keycaps, which just so happens to be one of the most common keycap profiles you're going to find on keyboards, making it easy to pop these into your existing model. One thing to keep in mind though is that these keycaps come in different height profiles depending on the row where they're meant to be placed. That means that it's probably a good idea to follow the recommended layouts that come on these tiny little diagrams with the keycaps in order to avoid things being uncomfortable to use. That being said, as you can tell, these diagrams are ridiculously tiny, and even I have a little bit of difficulty reading these, despite the fact that I don't even strain my eyes when weaving chainmail this fine. So give me a moment to pop these on a keyboard and give you a better look at them. And the keyboard in question is going to be this one. This is the Red Dragon K631 caster that I reviewed in a previous video, and it just so happens to have all of the keys necessary to show off these sets. And for those of you wondering, yes, I do have the Caster Pro that I've been meaning to review for months now, and that's going to happen eventually. I don't know when, but eventually. One thing I forgot to mention is that These keycaps do not come with a keycap puller, so you're going to have to provide your own for this. You could use one of the plastic ones, or in my case, I use this wire puller. But anyway, here we have the DC Comics keycaps, and I do have a couple of critiques. First off, if we look at the box here, you can see that the Spacebar has a pretty nice transition on the colors. Not so much here. They really should have extended the print a little bit further on either side in order to avoid that very weird border. And it's something they could have done because these keycaps start off as white, so they did have to apply the black printing here, and there is a little copyright information off on the side here. So they totally could have fixed this. But admittedly, that's just a minor complaint. As for the layout itself, I'm not really a big fan of having the Joker on my up arrow. His logo really should have been the delete key or the escape key because, as we all know, the Joker got away. Like I mentioned previously, these keycaps are different heights per row, so it's not like I can change that. Moving on, here we have the Harry Potter set, and like I mentioned previously, the layout does match the DC Comics set. And unlike last time, I don't really have any complaints about how things are laid out, nor are there any printing inconsistencies like with the Spacebar. Sometimes it's better to just use a flat color as opposed to a gradient so that any potential issues are not as glaring. And here we have the FlyTech Keycaps. Like I said earlier, this uses a different layout. So instead of having the backspace and delete keys, we now have the enter key and the left shift key. And gotta say, I actually like this a bit more. My only real complaint about this set in particular is the random sports car we've got on two of the keys. Everything else is a really nice vaporwave aesthetic, and the addition of a modern sports car kinda throws that off for me. Now, if it was something more 1980s inspired when it came to the car, then we could talk. Now, before I move on, there is one last thing I forgot to mention in regard to the Spacebar, and that's the fact that while this is just a standard sized Spacebar, on the back, it's compatible with different stabilizer layouts. On the other hand, here's the Spacebar that came with this keyboard, and as you can see, while things do line up, you're not limited to just one keyboard design. Also, because I know at least a couple of the people watching this video are wondering, no, you cannot use these keycap sets with the Bugha keyboards. These are membrane keyboards, not mechanical. And there you have the different keycap sets that are currently available from Five Below. I haven't seen these on the website yet, but as of the recording of this video, that being early April 2023, these are the ones available at my local store. And the interesting thing is, I contacted CultureFly, which is the manufacturer for these, hence the FlyTech, and these were packaged specifically for Five Below. And that means that more sets might be on the horizon, not to mention Five Below, with the new focus on mechanical keyboard accessories, might finally be getting ready to have a mechanical keyboard in their stores. And you know how much I've been wanting that. So needless to say, I'm pretty dang excited. Also, for those of you wondering why I didn't include a sound test in this video, that's simply due to the fact that these keycaps are meant to be installed on pretty much any mechanical keyboard, and different keyboards are going to have a different sound profile. However, with these being PBT keycaps, you can rest assured that they do have just a little bit of thok to them. They sound a lot better than the ABS keycaps that are included in a lot of budget keyboards. I think I'm going to save a full sound test with these keycaps for when I finally get my hands on a Five Below mechanical keyboard. Now, I think that pretty much covers everything I can say about these keycaps and then some. So, until next time, this is your guy, Cly, signing off.